A sick kid for the last week. Hopefully you can hear me okay. First of all, I'd just like to start by recognizing the homeland of the 30 First Nation communities of the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District, where we live and work and learn. And I know that important decisions that we make at a local government level can affect First Nation communities and Indigenous people. And so as part of our collective responsibility, I just commit that we'll continue to examine the work that we do here and ensure that our initiatives and discussions are guided, the principles of inclusion and reconciliation. And so with that in mind, I'd just like to call this to order here at the Regional Corporate Services Committee meeting. Ms. Kinnaman, first item.
Looking for approval of the agenda and late items.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Pranger, second by Director Ross. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
Next is 3.1. We have a delegation with the WildSafe BC update.
Hey, Jocelyn. Nice to see you again. Jocelyn and I just saw each other day before yesterday at the City of Chilliwack. So, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, this won't be new to you. Awesome. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Jocelyn and I'm the Fraser Valley Coordinator for WildSafe BC. My position is seasonal and this year it runs from April to December. First, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the unceded and traditional lands of the Stolo Coast Salish peoples. My presentation today is an annual overview for the Fraser Valley Regional District for the WildSafe BC 2022 season. So a little overview. Today I'll be discussing human-wildlife conflicts, what they are and how we address them, the Wildlife Alert Reporting Program, which I will be calling WARP, what it is and why it's useful, outreach activities I conduct, which include door-to-door canvassing and door hangers in areas of concern, display booths, WildSafe Ranger Program presentations for school-aged children, and then other presentations given to members of the community and other organizations. I'll also be giving an overview regarding social media this season and going over special initiatives. So a little bit about human-wildlife conflicts and a little bit about WildSafe BC. WildSafe BC is the provincial leader in preventing conflict with wildlife through collaboration, education, and community solutions. It has evolved out of the highly successful Bear Aware program and is owned and delivered by the British Columbia Conservation Foundation. WildSafe BC provides information on how we can reduce human-wildlife conflicts in all aspects of our lives, including how we live, work, play, and grow. How we manage our living space has a great deal of influence on the amount of human-wildlife conflict we experience. While wildlife may need to pass through our living space, if we provide food, water, shelter, and space, they may linger too long near our homes, and this can lead to undesirable consequences, both for us and for the animals. Wildlife attractants in and around our homes include garbage, compost, and recycling bins that are left outside or put out the night before curbside collection, fruit trees or fruit bushes that are not properly maintained, which means picking the fruit right when it's ripe, bird feeders or hummingbird feeders that are left outside in between April and November, as this is when wildlife are most active, pet food that is left outside, and barbecues that are not properly cleaned. WildSafe BC educates the community on how to manage these wildlife attractants. Okay, the Wildlife Alert Reporting Program, like I said, it's called WARP, is a program developed by WildSafe BC to enable the public to view reports regarding wildlife made to the BC Conservation Officer Service 24/7 call center or the online form if it isn't urgent. These reports are updated daily to a publicly available georeferenced map. The public can also sign up for a free account and receive alerts that are tailored to their species and location of interest. The most common reports in the Fraser Valley include sightings of bears, cougars, or coyotes in residential areas, near parks or schools, or in urban areas, and then reports of bears, cougars, or coyotes accessing human sources of food. Each color on the map represents a different attractant involved in the report. The most common colors are blue, which is attractant unknown, turquoise, which is sightings where an attractant was not reported, and then red, which signifies garbage was reported as an attractant. This screenshot on the slide are all wildlife reports made to WARP in the Fraser Valley from January 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022. Now a little bit about door-to-door canvassing and door hangers. Door-to-door canvassing consists of putting door hangers on every house in areas of concern. Areas of concern are determined based on WARP reports, conservation officer service requests, and complaints made by residents to either myself or municipality staff. Approximately 4,000 door hangers have been implemented all throughout the Fraser Valley this season. 3,322 were implemented in Abbotsford, 320 were implemented in Chilliwack, and 347 were implemented in Mission. In Abbotsford, this would not have been possible without the help of Abbotsford summer students Asan Bepor, Haley Katan, and Macy Liu. Areas of concern in Abbotsford include Sumas Mountain and Eagle Mountain. Areas of concern in Chilliwack include Chilliwack Mountain, Marble Hill, and Eastern Hillsides. And then areas of concern in Mission include the Stave Lake Hatzick area and Fraser River Heritage Park neighborhoods. And on the screen there is just an example of what our door hangers look like. Hey, display booths this season. Display booths included Public Works Week open house in Mission on May 14th, Sunset Market in the park in Mission on August 9th, Go Play Outside in Abbotsford on August 26th, and then Sunset Market in the park in Mission again on September 13th. These were successful in reaching approximately 533 people. Members of the public are welcome to look at the display, ask questions, and take home WildSafe BC brochures, stickers, temporary tattoos, and a bunch of other things, especially for the kids. Speaking of the kids, our WildSafe Ranger program presentations. Our WildSafe Ranger program stimulates discussion regarding wildlife and introduces students to the concept of human-wildlife conflict. Youth are encouraged to take an active role in reducing human-wildlife conflict at home by helping their families identify backyard wildlife attractants. In addition, students also learn how to have a safe and respectful relationship with wildlife. Over the 2022 season, I will have led 64 presentations in Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack, and surrounding areas in the FVRD, which will reach approximately 1,407 students. I have presented to numerous elementary schools. In Abbotsford, this includes 29 presentations at 5 elementary schools and 3 summer camps or other childcare organizations. In Mission, this includes 6 presentations at 1 elementary school and 1 childcare organization. And in Chilliwack, this includes 21 presentations at 4 elementary schools and 2 childcare organizations. I have also presented to elementary schools in other areas, which include Dudney Elementary, Yarrow Community School, DeRoche Elementary, and next week I will be presenting to Agassiz Christian School. At the end of the presentations, teachers and leaders would submit surveys regarding the information presented, age appropriateness, visual aids, and student engagements, and the presentations were well received by all. Just some other presentations that I conducted this season. I gave a total of 2 wildlife awareness and safety presentations, 1 to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada / Government of Canada, and 1 to Canada Post, the Mission location. During these presentations, participants learn how to be aware of the wildlife they can expect to encounter while out in the field, and we review specific recommendations for each species. And another presentation. So on June 29th, the City of Abbotsford Solid Waste and Management Department, along with WildSafe BC and the Conservation Officer Service, hosted a wildlife and waste information session, which was open to all City of Abbotsford residents. The presentations were followed by pizza and drinks, where residents could look at display booths and take home various WildSafe BC brochures, stickers, things for kids. It was very successful and was a great opportunity to speak with residents. Okay, and a little social media overview. The WildSafe BC Fraser Valley Facebook page grew 20% from January 1st, 2022 to November 15th, 2022, from 771 to 922 page followers. In this time frame, the Facebook page reached approximately 27,263 people. In preparation for display booths and events, I would post in numerous community groups on Facebook. I would also post about bears in certain areas, reminding community members how to properly manage their wildlife attractants. In September, I submitted a news article to the Chilliwack Progress, the Abbotsford News, and the Mission City Record about the WildSafe Ranger program, which was very well received and generated dozens of emails from teachers and leaders all throughout the Fraser Valley. And the special initiatives. BC Goes Wild is a campaign to celebrate wildlife in BC, and it occurs in September, which is typically the month when human-bear conflicts are at their highest in all of BC. In the second week of September, I had a display booth at the Sunset Market in the park event at Fraser River Heritage Park in Mission. I had props for people to explore and games for kids to play, and I was also handing out a coloring contest hosted by WildSafe BC. The display booth was successful in reaching approximately 206 people. And a very special thank you to all of the volunteers this season. Thank you to the City of Abbotsford summer students, Asan Bepor, Haley Katan, and Macy Liu, and City of Mission summer students, Stefan Halas and Giovanna Perano Campbell, for all their efforts this season, but specifically their efforts regarding the door hangers. And of course, thank you to all sponsors who made the 2022 season possible. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I will now open the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Appreciate all your hard work. And I mean, who wouldn't want to join a Facebook page? You look at cute pictures of raccoons and stuff like that. So it's
Yes.
good. Questions from board members. Director Adamo.
Thank you very much. Lovely presentation.
Thank you.
I did notice the absence of coverage outside of Chilliwack, so beyond. So I'm at the very farthest. Well, actually, Diane's at the very farthest Boston Bar area.
Yeah.
And I represent Sunshine Valley, where we've had the highest number of bear conflict calls in the last 5 years, and the highest number of bears captured and relocated and/or destroyed.
Right.
Are you out in that area for the next year for 2023?
I am. That is part of my area. It's just a matter of just how much I can work, and because I'm only one person, and unfortunately the most municipalities where there's a high density of it's a population thing where there's wildlife conflicts in the city. That's just where my efforts went this season, and school presentations just completely took off, which again is where I really focused on the kids this year and teaching as many as I possibly could.
You did very well, but you need a partner. You need some help, I think.
Yes.
So we'll talk, and perhaps there's a way we can get you involved up there.
Sure, that
in
would
the
be
next
great.
year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Horn.
Thank you. First, apologies to my colleagues for being late. I had some technical difficulties this morning. I think it's because my shirt caused a lot of interference with the computer. Jocelyn, I should have asked this question of you when you were in Mission. Is there a way for people to use the Facebook platform just to let neighbors know when they're seeing wildlife in their area, just to kind of help people to be particularly careful in those times?
Sure, that's a great question. Unfortunately, no one can post on my page, but a lot of communities all over the Fraser Valley, they have specific Facebook pages that are actual like neighborhood, just letting people know if something's going on, if there's an event, maybe if there's an issue. So I highly suggest and I recommend that everybody join your Facebook community page. If you don't have one, you can become if you want to, an admin and create your own, and then post in there that let's say there was a bear that you saw getting into some garbage, and just say, hey, friendly reminder, we need to manage our wildlife attractants. And then people can even link to my email, my website, my Facebook page, and then that way I can also, if I'm in that group, which I really try to be, then I can see that post as well and comment and say, yes, this is great, and remind people about managing their wildlife attractants.
Follow up, Mr. Chair, if I can.
Yep.
I think that there are a lot of us who just don't want to be a part of the larger flow of information. And I'm looking at your numbers, and I think you said you have about 920 Facebook followers. But
Correct.
If I knew that I was going to get updated on wildlife postings just in that one location or a similar page, I'd probably be inclined to it. So it's a suggestion for next year. But for me, if I know I'm going to get sort of updated in real time through a Facebook page, I'm more likely to follow it. But thank you.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And that's definitely something that I can suggest for next year is maybe possibly in the areas of concern for each municipality, we can try to have a Facebook page specifically for that, or even just a Facebook group specifically for that area of concern. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Director Dickey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jocelyn, for your presentation. Just curious, in your time doing this work, are you seeing a trend of more problems developing or less?
It seems to be a little bit more, and which is why we're just trying to drive the education, and which is why I love focusing on the kids, getting the kids to learn this from an early age and grow up with this knowledge and just grow up with these habits being habits and something they don't even necessarily think about as they get older. And the kids go home and teach their families and teach their parents, and it's fantastic. So we're, if anything, I mean, a little bit of an increase in human wildlife conflict, especially with bears, and garbage continues to be, garbage, compost, and recycling continues to be the #1 issue in the entire province. And yes, unfortunately in the Fraser Valley. So just continue education and reminding people how to manage these wildlife attractants.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Director
one
Dabo, go
one
ahead.
follow-up. Thank you very much. And through the chair, we're getting a bit of a conflict of stories here, I guess. In our community specifically, I've met with Bear Aware recently and with the Conservation Authority, and they're kind of saying not to be posting it every time a bear shows up on their Facebook page. And in our community, because we have majority of weekenders, I guess you would say, people want to go out and look for that bear. And that's not necessarily a good thing. So I'm just wondering, should we really be posting it on Facebook every time you see a bear? There are people with night vision cameras that have bears posted almost daily up until last week when they finally left us.
Right. Yeah, that is a valid concern. And from WildSafe BC's perspective, it is just about reminding community members that bears do live in our neighborhoods, and that if we continue to leave wildlife attractants out and accessible to them, they will not leave. So from our perspective, it's purely educational, but your concern is very valid. And unfortunately, there are people out there who do want to find these animals, whether it's to just look or take pictures or videos, which is why I also try to be very broad. I'll take a screenshot of Warp and I'll say, let's say like Hatsick area, and I'll say there are bears in the area. There have been reports. Let's, remember, this is a reminder of how to manage wildlife attractants. So yeah, it's a valid concern though, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just looking for more questions. Thanks very much, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Let's move to the next item.
Thank you.
Next item is 4.1. We have the draft Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting minutes of October 13th, 2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Damo and seconded by Director Dixon. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
5.1 is the local government requirements under the Accessible British Columbia Act. This is an information item, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. As many of you will know, in your respective municipalities anyways, this is a new requirement coming down from the provincial government, and it applies to all local governments, both municipalities and regional districts. So this is something that we'll be discussing further with staff and looking to appoint members to. So any questions? Next item.
6.1.1 is the air quality monitoring study using low-cost sensors. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder. It's moved by Director Ross, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, there are certain people in my area who were all over this long before I was, because apparently it was in the Fraser Valley Current. And I was getting really positive feedback about it, as well as some questions. And so the map indicates that there are obviously these sensors potentially are going all the way from Boston Bar right through to places in my area as well. I'm just wondering a little bit if I can have a little bit more clarification of what they will potentially be monitoring, and could they help with any of the airborne, like sometimes there's concerns about fertilizers and things being spread in vast quantities. Like, those are the questions around, will those be monitored as well?
Maybe.
Skinnaman?
Sure. I think we have Lance Lilly, our manager of environmental services. He'd be happy to answer that question.
Hey, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. These sensors, they're particularly focusing on, well, particulate matter, PM, small, fine particulate matter. It's the largest health concern we have for ambient air quality conditions. We are testing out some other sensors. So we'll be looking at ground level ozone as well, but we still have to, those are sort of new sensors to us. We have to figure out how well they work and test them in relation to our existing monitoring stations. The focus of this study, though, is on particulate matter, and we expect this to provide pretty good coverage throughout the region to be able to show pollution patterns, where they emerge from wildfire smoke, backyard burns, at an ambient level, to see what the discrepancy is between communities, how communities are similar or dissimilar from a particular matter, and that's the purpose of this study.
Okay.
Follow up if I may, or
Go
just
ahead.
more of a comment. I
Sure.
think. One of the things that some of the studies at Cultus Lake have shown is that the impact of phosphorus and nitrogens or nitrates, I guess, airborne, that is causing some problems with the health of Cultus Lake, and so that was just a comment that if those could be measured, or maybe if that's part of it, that would be helpful as well.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I think you know, the low cost function of the sensor also limits the amount of material that you can measure with it. But yeah, certainly I hear the
Thank you.
concern for sure. Director Ross, do you have a comment? No. Okay.
Yeah, just the only comment is that I'm really excited about this initiative. The more information, the better. And, you know, coordinating with the other information we already collect. And so I think this will give us a far clearer picture of what people are actually experiencing. And so I'm really looking forward to the results.
Director Horn, go ahead.
Yes, just a question through you, Mr. Chair, to staff. I noticed that the report said that at least initially the data would be on a private setting basis. I'm just wondering if they can provide a bit of a rationale for that, and then also whether or not there is a contemplation of it going on a public dashboard later on. And I may have a follow-up, but I'm looking forward to that answer.
Mr. Lilly?
I think ultimately, yes, absolutely. The goal is to have this information be available public. These are excellent community education tools, awareness tools. Because we're still in this testing phase, we are sensitive to misleading information, wrong data, data inaccuracies. And so we want to test not only the sensors themselves, but the locations where we put them. We don't want to be mismeasuring ambient by locating it too close to an emission source, for example. And that is misrepresenting what the general community is experiencing. So there might be some tweaks, might be some relocations, might be some challenges we face with the data portal side of things. And so we're proposing an initial phase where we test it out, we're looking at the data, we try and analyze it, and then we'll go through the board here and we'll try to see what information we can be made public. That's the idea here.
Thank you. Follow up if I can, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
That's good news. The question I would follow up with is, do these mini sensors have in them a built-in capacity to wirelessly update in real time, or would there be another cost down the line to build in that capacity, or for staff to go out and manually monitor them?
That's a good question. These sensors, at least like the purple air sensors, the ones we're looking at for the large scale particulate matter monitoring, do provide real-time measurements. that are transmitted via Wi-Fi, and we have access to display them. And
Thank you.
it provides a very useful opportunity to show how different the data sets are between the region.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lilly. And I've seen the use of some of these smaller low-cost air quality monitoring for the citizen scientist groups that are out there as well. So I know we have a pretty robust education or air quality education program in schools. And once we're through pilot testing, and should this move forward, be neat to see some of that being demoed in the school for some of the students to see some of the tech we're using across the region to measure air quality. Next item. Oh, sorry, we actually should call a quick question on this, I guess. Sorry. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
6.2.1 is the British Columbia Destination Development Fund opportunity. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Ross, second by Director Pranger. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any, item carries. Next item.
6.2.2 is the BC Air Access Program funding application. Again, there's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Johnson, second by Director Adamo. Discussion. Good program. Hopefully we can get some funds from this. All in favor? Those, if any, item carries. Next item.
6.3.1 is the Regional Growth Strategy Update. It's an information item, but staff would welcome any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Nope. Next item.
See that Director Horn has his hand raised.
Sorry,
Hold on.
Director Horn. Go ahead.
That's correct. Excellent. Just a question regarding the sections that deal with employment lands and goods transportation. I think the region is going to experience a lot more pressure in this area as land supply and land costs push people from Metro out here. Just wondering from staff's perspective if there's a way for us to be making that part of the RGS even more robust.
Certainly that's some of the
Oh, there's awesome.
in reviewing the policies and talking to staff, we can make adjustments or strengthen some of the language in relation to that. The RGS does speak to working, for example, with the Land Commission and the province to find innovative ways of addressing the land shortage. And that is actually within the existing regional growth strategy as well. So it's working with senior governments and working with the province and finding solutions to what is a very significant problem. The other thing is that the province is also working on a goods movement strategy. I think it has some basis in what used to be the Gateway program, and that has now been extended more broadly. And we'll be hearing some more about that in the new year. We had some discussions with the province about a month or so ago, and there's some really interesting work that the province is doing. So that sort of work is also going on in the background.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A follow-up comment would just be, I think that all sounds great. For me, one of the principles I'd love to see built in more clearly there is the alignment of goods management and employment lands and locations. So that sounds great. I just want to see that alignment is part of it.
Director Horn, one of the things that showed up on a mandate letter for our newly appointed agriculture minister, you may know her, is the continuation of some of the innovation and food processing work that the ag ministry was looking at prior. And so this is incredibly important work for especially the Fraser Valley, because it looks at envisioning what are some of the ancillary services that are required by farmers and producers, and how can we maximize, not only just protecting good quality farmland across the Fraser Valley and beyond, but also how can we provide the ancillary services for the food processing and technology, agri-tech, all the stuff along with it, so that ag land continues to also be a good source of employment land. And we don't just look at simply industrial land as solving all of our problems. I think we missed a little bit of the boat a lot of years ago when they were envisioning an industrial land reserve as well to help preserve some of the industrial land across the province. And now, as a result, we're seeing shortages across a lot of different municipalities and into electoral areas where we have big shortages of industrial land. But what it does do is it makes us think smarter about how we're utilizing that land and how we're also maximizing good use of ag land as well.
Amen.
I think we've got a really exciting opportunity with Minister Alexis having been a former member of this board and sitting around this table with a lot of us. So looking forward to certainly to working with her. Other comments, questions? Hearing none. Next item.
Moving down to item 9, which is reports by directors.
Thank you. That would be your opportunity. Is there any reports from directors? Don't see any. Next item.
Next is public question period for items relevant to the agenda, and we'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Ms. Van Ness.
Good morning. We don't have anybody joining us in the boardroom today and nobody online, so we can move to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. Next item.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Pranger, second by Director Dixon. All in favor? Opposed if any, the item carries.
And we will just recess for a couple of minutes while we set up the room.
Thank you. And board members, I'm going to excuse myself because we now have